We call him the world's greatest human because he's the nicest man on earth. He's Charles Davis with us on The Rich Eisen Show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm about to light a candle for Fife Dog right now.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, hearing that we were together when word came down. All right, we were doing Path to the Draft, and it was during that. I don't think we were exactly together then, but during that time frame, we were doing that, and next thing you know, the hip hop station was doing a full Tribe Called Quest tribute to Fife Dog and the whole deal, and see, you take me back. Now I'm a little misty.
There you go. And not to take this totally on a left turn here, Fife Dog used to appear on my radio show on Fox Sports Radio all the time. He's a huge sports fan. Huge sports fan. Used to come on the show all the time.
Big deal. But good to talk with you again, Andrew. I'm glad you're riding the big chair today.
Likewise, Charles. And it's great to have you here, sir. I'll ask you, before we get to your game, I'll ask you our poll question. I know you caught at least a minute of it last night because you're the talented professional and prepared as you are. Do the Browns win a game?
They do.
Where?
I cannot even tell you what game or what or how. I'm playing the odds. They do win a game because we do know the stat is going to be ad nauseum until they win one. In modern-day football, since Super Bowl era, whatever you want to call it, Buccaneers, expansion team in 76, went 0-14. And, of course, we had the Lions of, what was it, 2008?
2008, correct, 0-16. We had John Kitna on earlier.
Poor Rod Marinelli and crew, and there we go. So.
Yeah, I think they get one. I think it's Cincinnati in a couple of weeks. They'll be coming off a bye, and Hugh knows Cincinnati. Look, I know there's a talent gap there, but if I had to circle one, that would be my one.
It's got to be one where someone makes the mistake of either taking them too lightly or something goes haywire. Remember, Terrell Suggs was just talking about it this week about being on the Ravens team and lost to the Dolphins.
Right, the Greg Camarillo, Cleo Lemon game in December of 07. We talked about that one yesterday on NFL Network. It was Cleo Lemon's only career victory, and he threw a catch-and-run, walk-off, or run-off touchdown, if you will, to Greg Camarillo. The Ravens ended up going 5-11 that year. Brian Billick lost his job that year, and things kind of went downhill. Charles, your game.
Real quick.
Yeah, go.
I think that it would be really cool if the Browns brought back Spurgeon Wynn for one game to talk to the team before the game.
Oh, man.
And go,
bring all the quarterbacks back.
I couldn't help it. One start in the NFL, Spurgeon Wynn. Bring him back.
I believe it was at Minnesota, though I could be wrong. We'll get research on that one. All right, Charles, speaking of quarterbacks, your game, I think a lot of people, a lot of fans of both sides here, the Rams and the Jets, you have that one coming up this Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern time at MetLife Stadium. I think fans of both sides would like to see Bryce Petty v. Jared Goff. From the people you're talking to this week, why do you think it still isn't Jared Goff for the Rams?
I will see the Rams tomorrow, Andrew.
Fair enough.
And the last time I saw them in person was before Detroit, I believe, before the Detroit game. So I've had them twice already. And they have just been steadfast. The message has been clear from them that they will play Jared when he is ready. Now, when you ask them to describe ready, obviously it gets nebulous, and no team worth their salt is going to tell you what the failings are or what a guy is not doing in order to be on the field. That's just not smart, and they're intelligent people. They are. So they're not going to tell us that. But my sense is that they still are in playoff contention, right? They're not eliminated.
Correct.
They feel like Case Keenum runs the offense the way they want it run, although a lot of people would say, I don't know what that is right now because you've scored a touchdown in each of the last 3 games.
And you've thrown the ball, Charles.
10 points in the last 2.
And
so
99,
that's not it.
99 pass attempts. Sorry, sir, to cut you off there in their last 2 games.
But that's the thing that throws everyone, is that it's been 99 pass attempts in the last couple of games because this team always talks about being a run-first team. We'll run it first, last, and always. Les Snead, the general manager, remember the joke last year, don't worry about it, 16. Make sure you learn how to hand off to 30. That'll bring you along fast up about Jared Goff and his development. 53 and 47 throws the last 2 weeks. I watched both games, and I'm still in shock that I'm what? Because that's not their identity at all. Remember, that's the same team that went for it on 4th and short right before the halftime instead of kicking a field goal against Detroit because that's the identity of the team, yet they're throwing it 53 and 47 times. So that's something I obviously will be asking about in our production meeting. I don't know what I'll get back. But that just really throws me for a team like that, because that's what you would expect to keep Keenum in for. Run the offense, don't make mistakes, hand the ball to Gurley, fashion offense that way. Not where he's throwing at 53 and 47. That's Dan Marino territory.
Yeah, and that doesn't work at all. We're talking to friend of the program and man about town, Charles Davis from Fox, who'll be calling the Rams and the Jets coming up 1 o'clock Eastern time on Fox this Sunday, MetLife Stadium. On the other side of things, I guess the Jets are still in it, so that's why they're sticking with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Is there the same underlying reason here that they too don't think Bryce Petty is ready?
It's a little
different,
more nuanced. I love using that word. That's the reason I used it. It's a little bit different because Todd Bowles, point blank, why wouldn't you play Bryce Petty at this point? Yes, we're still in it as the lead with that. The second part is I still believe Ryan Fitzpatrick gives us a better mental advantage than where Bryce is now. Obviously, experience does count. If Bryce has to play, we'll run our offense. We think we'll be okay. But he still leans towards Ryan Fitzpatrick. So it's not that they don't believe that he's not ready, just that they believe Fitzpatrick is more ready. But when I asked Ryan Fitzpatrick point blank, hey, you're in our meeting today, that means you're going to play on Sunday. He just looked at me and grinned and never said a word.
Well, officially he's questionable.
Right. So I pressed him a little bit more because you know me, I'm an okay guy. But in this situation, I'm trying to get an answer.
Intrepid
so I pressed
reporter.
him a little bit more, and I just said, hey, if you're sitting in this meeting here, that's the starting quarterback. He goes, it's every intention on Sunday. And it is. It's every intention of theirs to play. But watching him today, his mannerisms and all, it's not a fait accompli. Bryce Petty might actually start on Sunday. And that would only be because they don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick is ready health-wise. And that's going to be a decision they'll probably make Sunday in warm-ups. But I know Ryan Fitzpatrick has every intention of playing, and Todd Bowles, his head coach, has every intention of starting him on Sunday. They're not really going with a contingency plan. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick if his health permits.
And officially he's questionable, which officially means 50-50, which officially means it's a coin toss. But as Charles Davis says, it certainly looks as if it will be Ryan Fitzpatrick. We have Rick Neuheisel, speaking of path to the draft, Charles, on a little bit later. Want to ask him this question, but I want to ask you as well, especially considering as a Tennessee guy, you know your SEC as well as anyone. Do you believe Nick Saban when he says he wasn't aware of the election?
That's one of the most laughable things I've heard all year.
Thank you.
I actually laughed my butt off, frankly. Nick Saban knows his audience and knows his people and knows his state and knows what plays best. And what plays best is an answer like that. All he said in that was Bill Belichick saying Seattle. 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 Because the focus is in one spot. At Alabama, the focus is the next game, the next opponent, the process. And him saying, well, I wasn't really aware, is a message to all of his people. Don't worry, I'm locked in because this is where you're worried about upsets with the number one team at this time. You really think Nick Saban, as intelligent as Nick Saban is, that he didn't respect the process of the American people and vote?
No, but
and
Charles,
not know what this day was? Not a shot.
Here's my question. Do you think it's only a front for the media and that he actually addressed it with his team? Because he is still a leader of young men at a state-funded academic institution. And Stan Van Gundy, for example, was talking. I think it was Stan Van Gundy a couple of days ago. He regrets not talking to his group of young men, granted professionals, right,
but still,
about the election. Does Nick Saban owe it to his team to say something? And do you think that he actually did and he just won't admit it?
I think that he did, and he won't. And I think that he also won't admit it. He's not going to lay anybody in unless he's controlling the process, and I get that. That's up to him. But I'd be shocked. One of his best friends is Joe Manchin, former governor of the state of West Virginia. Remember, Nick's a West Virginia native. Joe Manchin was one of the guys that was rumored early on to possibly dive into the presidential race, running as a Republican. So I believe as a Republican. I may be wrong on that, but that's one. Nick Saban is a very intelligent man. I've been around him a number of times. You probably have as well. I'd be shocked if he didn't mention it with his players. I'm pretty darn sure he voted. He may have done it early. And then him saying that is pretty much a way of saying, I'm not going to talk about any politics with you guys. Because he knows that when you start going politics, it's fraught with disaster for a guy like him. And bottom line is, in the state of Alabama, he can do that because the Alabama people want to know that he's focused on the next game. I would dare say that if he coached at a different institution, a different part of the country, he might actually handle that question differently. I may be giving Nick Saban way too much credit here, Andrew. Maybe it's just the side of me that's like, no way is a coach going to, in 2016, going to miss on this opportunity. Because when Joe Maglia, the head coach at Coastal Carolina, has put his team on buses, the entire team, to make sure they got there and voted. When Roy Williams cancels practice in North Carolina and they knew it ahead of time to make sure everybody has a chance to vote, I think most coaches are doing that nowadays. It's not like the days when we were growing up where it just wasn't addressed at all.
Exactly. And I'm not suggesting Nick Saban needs to endorse a candidate, but what I am suggesting is...
I think that's why he didn't want to talk
about
it, frankly. He wanted to stay out of it, and everybody leave my locker room alone. But you and I, if we put the spies on him, I'm pretty darn sure he voted.
Yeah, and he owes it to his young people as well, young people that look up to him and seek guidance from him to tell them you need to be a part of the process and actually exercise your right
that's why I
vote.
was hesitant, like some of our brethren, to dive in on him because people would dove right in. Oh, that's irresponsible. Oh, that's this. We don't know what he did behind closed doors.
Sure, exactly.
And I'm betting behind closed doors he talked with his team about it, and I bet he exercised his right as an American and went to the polls.
Looking forward to hearing Charles Davis and Tom Brenneman and new dad Peter Schrager on the Rams and the Jets coming up 1 o'clock Eastern time on Fox and, of course, on NFL Sunday Ticket here on DirecTV and the Red Zone channel and 703. Charles, it is always a pleasure. It has been too long, sir. Let's talk soon.
I look forward to it, and I have a quick message for you. My son says hello. He and his boys, they watch you every week on Red Zone. You got huge fans back with that crew.
Well, please tell Parker I send my best. Thank you,
certainly will,
sir. Charles Davis.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.